Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm here with Elisa from Elisa Interiors in Harrogate. How you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm good. Thanks
Good
for
stuff.
inviting me over.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Thanks very much for coming on. So, if you could expand on my micro introduction a bit more and tell us a little bit more about who you are, what it is you do, how long you've been doing it for, please.
So I started, first of all, I'm an interior designer, basically doing commercial and mainly residential sort of projects. I started as a self-employed in 2010 after 3 years with Laura Ashley. And
Hmm.
decided to go solo in 2010, and then it's been a roller coaster. I moved into premises, employed somebody, so
Yeah.
interesting journey.
Yeah, you go on that journey. So let's unpack that journey a little bit more. But first, there's a couple of things really. What would you say makes you different or stand out from other interior designers in the country and in the world, I guess, in Harrogate? What's your kind of make it different?
I would say, obviously, I'm Italian, and
Yeah.
one first thing that people say to me is usually, "What are you doing in this country? You're coming from a beautiful country."
Yeah.
Yeah. So the intention wasn't to live here 28 years. The thing started many years ago when I studied at university at the Vatican City. So I did languages, and I was introduced to England when I used to come and spend the summers in Buckinghamshire to improve my language. So when I finished uni, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go there for a few years. I had fallen in love with the beautiful countryside, with London. Before I knew, 28 years down the yeah. So what makes me different, I think, is the ability create this quite deep and strong connection with my clients. And also the fact that I've got my Italian sort of background, I lean a lot onto trends that come from Europe. I attend a lot of trade shows in Italy, in Spain. So a lot of, what I import here is actually,
Yeah.
sort of Italy and Spain and Portugal. So that
Nice.
influences, sort of the style, which is almost like a fusion between, I would say, the English style with the
Yeah.
Italian style. So that's what I think it's, the main points.
Excellent. And then, so how do customers in this country, obviously they receive it well. In terms of those trends, then do you mix your own kind of style with the trends that people want?
Because it's all well and good and say, this year this color is the color of the year, and
Mhm.
the sofas has to be like that, the kitchen has got to
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
What I like to do is to work to create a space where you can enjoy living for many, many years. Bear in mind, in Italy, when you buy a house and you move in, you're there for the whole of your life. So
yeah,
that concept of longevity, quality, and truly engaging kind of spaces, that
yeah.
your personality, that's what I aim, at mainly.
Fantastic.
They're not the main sort of kind of starting point.
Yeah,
More the client.
sure, sure. I'm going to say, so if a customer comes in, what's that kind of journey look like? What sort of questions are you asking them?
First of all, we like to assess or have a look at the space they currently live in. And that is really important because you actually get to understand the person you've got in front of you.
Mhm.
Not about the space, it's about the person you're designing for. So
Yeah,
is to understand what they like, what they don't like, where they travel to, what they wear, what sport they do, what the children do, what kind of routine they go through the day. So basically, you understand how the spaces are used, what the style, what's kind of their own
Yeah,
personality.
yeah.
And from that point, we take all this information back. Obviously, we listen to the client as to what they want to prioritize, what's the aim, what's we call in
Mhm.
our language scope of work. So what
Yeah.
they're for, and we understand what the needs are, and then we come back in the studio and we start obviously just unraveling this big
Yeah, yeah.
and the process, and we start working, putting together a fee. First of all, once we've assessed the needs, we work a fee to put a fee together, send it over to the client, and when the client agrees, then we start collecting all the information to create that space, starting from collecting visual
Mhm.
online inspirational pictures and products.
Yeah.
First step is to present to the client. And we normally have 2 or 3 options there so that the client can say, yes, this is very much or what I had in mind, or I don't like this,
Yeah.
that. And we refine the selection. And from that, once the client has agreed, we progress to putting together a proper estimate. And once we get that approved, we start the work because we take care of, all aspects,
Yeah.
procurement, sort of project managing. We've got all our skilled sort of set of people that we use
Mhm.
site,
Yeah.
and we go through the work and transform the space.
So how big's your team then now? How much has it grown from, say, when you started in 2010 to now?
When I started in 2010, it was just myself, and I was working from home with the intention of obviously starting the business, but be able to sort of support my 2 girls. I've got 2 daughters who are 27 and 25. They live in Madrid, and
Yeah.
now they're gone. Um, when I started the business, they were in the teenage years, which to me were very important. So
Yeah, yeah.
I moved in the premises in 2016. And as the studio is on 3 floors, I took the bottom floor and I sublet the first and second floor because I wanted the clients to come over and be able to do everything under one roof.
Hmm.
I subletted the first floor to an architect and the second floor to a landscape architect. Okay.
Very astute.
Yeah, it was all very good. And it all went well until obviously they grew and they needed more space. So
Yeah,
it's just myself in,
yeah,
business. And
yeah.
Lloyd Valentina, who, funnily enough, is a close friend who
Mhm.
ended up going, doing interior design at university. She graduated in 2022. I was looking for somebody to come and join me, and she joined me. So
Good.
got a job, and she's been full-time part of the team. And then we obviously use freelance when we need, things specific sort of um things that need doing for projects. Mainly is the 3D
Sure.
modeling, because that's what Valentina does quite a lot. All the Revit, all the CAD drawings, all the 3D modeling that help clients to visualize what the space is going to look like once it's been renovated. That helps massively because it's part of the initial sort of process. You put together the ideas, but obviously, as well as having samples, it always helps the client to visualize the room in a 3D version where
Yeah, yeah.
you can actually see, oh yes, this works. So helps massively.
Interpreting that vision, as you said, they kind of start when the customer comes through the door, work out what their ideas are and what they want, and turn
Yeah.
it into reality. So how has the journey been then, Elisa? If you mentioned roller coaster earlier. Tell us more about that as a kind of business journey.
You can tell that because, you know, when I started in 2010, it was the start of recession. So obviously I was hitting the business when probably a lot of people would have thought, well, just stay employed. So I've
Yeah.
been employed, and I've seen obviously the first recession, I've
Mhm.
seen the Brexit, I've seen the COVID, and I'm seeing adjustment at, you know, a financial level now that few years after COVID, post-COVID and
Mhm.
Brexit, there is a lot of reshaping, you know, financially speaking. So the one thing I understood as I was, you know, as the time was going by, is you have to be very adaptable. Never think that where you are now is where you are going to be, because circumstances
Sure.
that are out of your control can come in the way and put everything under a different sort of light. And you
Yeah.
yourself in a position where you're having to choose to give up maybe your business. So what is what I would say, one of the most important things that I did at the start was to create this network of people I quite, you know, regularly, sort of I am in touch. And
Mhm.
that helps you not to feel alone, because when you're self-employed, you end up spending a lot of time by yourself.
You
So
do.
nice network of people, you
Yeah.
some of them you lose them along the journey, some new ones,
Mhm.
but always stay connected to the world outside, because for obviously, you know, at a business level, from a personal perspective, and also it keeps you updated and in the know of what's
Mhm.
happening out there. And you're always, you know, you're always got a chance in that way to kind of foresee what is going to happen and
Yeah.
just your ways and put all the due, you know, sort of reflection and system in place,
Yeah.
I would say.
That's a brilliant share. And would that be your biggest lesson, do you think, in terms of having that network, or is there anything else that's
I would,
stands out as the biggest lesson in business so far?
well, I think having the network, looking after yourself, because when you are
Yeah.
self-employed, you think about everybody else but yourself. And
Yeah.
obviously, be prepared to see how some part of your business at some point maybe you've got to lose, and some other part of your business you've got to invest energy,
Mhm.
time and money to push forward. And I think as well, the other thing that I, you know, if it was an advice to give to people, is when you when you're self-employed, you think everything that you do can only be done by yourself. But there comes a point where you need to understand, I can't, because if you want to grow the business, there's only so many hours in the day you can actually follow everybody. So I would say be prepared to let go sometimes and trust and find other people that
Yeah.
bring on board. Because one of the best things I could do possibly it was to employ Valentina, because I was
Mhm.
so frustrated I couldn't do the, you know, sort of the 3D modeling that I so
Mhm.
wanted to be able to offer to my clients, and I didn't have the time to learn that skill.
Yeah.
It all happened at the right time.
Nice, a nice lesson or share advice on sort of trusting and letting go, which is the big theme to help you grow. Fantastic. So what's your inspiration? I can feel the passion coming through for what you do, but in your own words, what would you say is the inspiration for you to keep going and getting out of bed?
A very creative answer, but I must confess that the one that comes to mind is my background. I I grew up in Rome. So, you know, for 25 years of my life, everything that surrounded me was architecturally interesting.
Mhm.
Was, you see art, you see
Yeah,
beautiful fashion, you see
nice. Yeah.
to do with excellence, and it's ingrained. It's actually
Mhm.
in your DNA, whether
Yeah.
not, it is. Some people say to me, how do you know that this goes with this and doesn't go with that? And that's not just that from an interiors perspective, even in food, I love cooking. So when I invite people over and I cook and they say, oh, how did you put this with this? And I can't give a very a different answer. It's
Yeah.
in our DNA. So what I ended up doing here, it's something natural and very much
Mhm.
in my blood. And
Yeah.
my mum nurtured when I was growing up, really. She was a school teacher, and obviously a lot of art and a lot of creativity was always part of my day-to-day life. She loved looking after the house. She dressed
Mhm.
beautifully, and all these things just you go through
Had
life.
an influence.
Yeah, they do.
I totally get it. It's again, just thank you for sharing that in the way that you have, because yeah, kind of understand where you've come from and what you're doing here in Harrogate and the work that you do. So thank you for sort of sharing that so passionately. So we're going to have to wrap it up, but kind of lastly, in terms of any latest news around what you're up to, or even if it's a case of sharing your website, so if people want to start getting help with their interior design, where can they go?
Right. So obviously we have got a website. You find us at Elisa Interiors.com, or you find us on Instagram and Facebook under Elisa Interiors. But there is something interesting happening that I'm trying to develop. I lost my mum at the beginning of June because she had bowel cancer last year. And so it's been a very tough year.
Mhm.
And
Sorry to hear that.
it's yeah, still, on the
Yeah.
mend.
Yeah. It's very close. I understand.
Very, very close. And so this year, what we are trying to organize, starting from the 4th of October, I've set up a Just Giving fund to fight
Mhm.
bowel cancer, and I'm organizing workshops in the studio where the tickets are going to be sold and the money are going to go straight I mean, you can buy them and pay
Mhm.
the Just Giving.
Yeah.
So there's going to be different things. If you want to follow us, subscribe
Yeah.
to the letter and you will be updated regularly every month. Okay.
Fantastic, Elisa. I will check out the workshop and the fundraising page, and we'll put that onto the link underneath the video when we share it. So thank you very much for sharing all that you have. It's been a really insightful, passionate, and wonderful interview. And I wish you all the best for the future success of the business.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.